Guys, welcome to another episode of Healthy Vegan Cooking and Gardening, and we are back in the glass house, and today is all about Brussels sprouts. So let's go have a look. Alright, so here we have the patch of broccoli that I showed you yesterday, and over here starts the Brussels sprouts, so let's go over there. Alright, so here we have our first Brussels sprouts. As you can see, they are very big. So they grow about, I would say, 1.5 meters when they're the tallest. But these things take a very long time to grow. So they're planted from the seed in April. And you can see they're ready just now. So you can see over here we have some Brussels sprouts. And they have to be pretty hard to be picked. So probably only this one is ready. I already picked some earlier yesterday. So that's how you pick them. You have to kind of touch them and then pull them down. And as you can see, they grow all along the stem between the leaves. Only a few of them actually made it to the mature size. I think only about 5 of them. And the rest are, you can see, they're only beginning, and we are already experiencing some frost nights. But in a glass house they're gonna probably survive for a few more weeks until a really hard frost comes. I even heard that they can survive the hard frost, so maybe they even grow through the winter in the glass house, who knows. And you can see they're even growing here between the leaves. You have some small ones. So same like broccoli, they're very space requiring plants, so they require a lot of place, and even though they're cold hardy, they can still tolerate the heat of summer. They're in a glass house here, and it was definitely over 30 degrees, and they still survive pretty fine. Same like with the broccoli, this is the second season growing, and the first season we planted them in autumn, and they survived throughout the winter. But then in spring they just got decimated by the heat and also the bugs. But with the bugs you only have to take care of them when they're small, but once the plant gets big leaves, it kind of takes care of itself. So even if you have some bugs, they're gonna not be able to eat all the leaves. So these 3 plants are the first ones that I was picking from. As you can see, there are even some bigger ones here. Just pull it like that. And again, you want to touch them first because some of them are not so hard. But those that are hard, we just pick them like that, and hopefully they're gonna be getting bigger. This one is the first plant I was picking from, and I was picking from it already like 2 months ago. And you can see some of the Brussels sprouts kind of like sprouted into things like this. You just have like leaves, they're kind of opened up, and only few ones over here are kind of ready to eat. So that's probably not good to have them in such a heat. So this was already closed, and temperatures here often got over 30 degrees. So if you have temperatures like that, they're just gonna go opened up like that, like a cabbage or something. But you want, as I said, like this, like a hard thing like you would buy in a shop. And yesterday I was even picking some bigger ones. And again, some tips on growing the Brussels sprouts. As I said, you want a lot of space, and they want to have access to full sunlight, so don't put them in a shade because they're not gonna grow good. And again, they can tolerate the cold weather. So if you live like more up north, I think the countries like Netherlands, Belgium are the best because they don't get such hot summers, and they have very long season as well until they don't even have snow there. So countries that are the best. England as well, you know, where you have like a long time steady temperatures around 20 degrees. That's what they like. They don't like too much heat or too cold, and it's when they're gonna stop growing as well. pretty much the same growing as broccoli. They need a lot of nitrogen, so using your urine is a great idea, especially at the beginning stages where they need a lot of leaf growth. And at the beginning you also want to take care of the bugs, because they can decimate your plant if they're really young. So the best vegan technique is just to pick them and release them somewhere else. But I don't know if I would grow them so much in a glass house, because they overshadowed many plants. As you can see, there are here tomatoes and they didn't grow so well, and they just take too much space and for what they give. And I think this area in Serbia here, it's really hard for growing things like that, because in the summer it just gets too hot. But I still got some harvest, so next year I'll probably not plant as many, only a few of them for some soup or addition, because there are, as I said, many, like this one over here. You can see it's a big plant, take lots of space, but the Brussels sprouts on it are so small, not even worth picking. So hopefully they'll get bigger. But as I said, these guys are growing for like over half a year now, since April, so I don't give them much chance on producing anymore. Sometimes we can find even up on top that I forgot to pick, but they're not so hard inside, but you can see it's a pretty good size. Alright, so over here we have a few more, about 6 more plants, and as you can see they are all kind of fallen down. So for next year they also need support like tomatoes when they get big, because you can see they just fall down like that. And down here they're overshadowed by the tomatoes. So another tip is to just stake them like you would tomatoes or peppers over here. And you see these ones were replanted from the seed, because I was just like putting seeds like that, same like with the broccoli, and there were just like 10 of them at one place. So we're just replanting the seedlings, which was ridiculous. And now these guys grew, but these ones are definitely not gonna have enough time to mature. I think I only picked a few of them here. So definitely replanting is not a good idea. Once you plant them, they should just stay there. And we even planted some on the raised beds outside, which I'm gonna show you now. Let's go. And over here you can see the raised bed with more broccoli and Brussels sprouts. So they're really good at surviving the frost, but as you can see, these are competing even more for the sunlight. So the Brussels sprouts that we planted, like this one over here, you see nothing is gonna grow from that for sure. So again, they're really spacious, requiring plant, and I would not plant them just like that by itself, but you can see they're even surviving here in Serbia. So for next year I'll plant less plants and give them more space for sure. Alright guys, welcome back to the kitchen, and today's recipe is gonna be balsamic Brussels sprouts. So here you have the basket of Brussels sprouts that we picked earlier today. As you can see, we have quite a lot, about maybe 2 kilos. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna clean up these Brussels sprouts. So what we're gonna do is remove these outer leaves where the most of the dirt is, and they're also like too starchy kind of. And we're also gonna cut off the bottom, which is also too starchy and too hard. So the Brussels sprouts, how you want, is gonna be looking something like this. So that's what we want, and I'm gonna do it with all the Brussels sprouts. So let's get started. You can see some of them are perfect, like this one. It's very compact and hard, that's what you want. But some of them are kind of squishy, but they can still be used. Alright, so I peeled and cut the tips of all the Brussels sprouts. So you can see it's a little bit less than it was, maybe half of this basket. So now I'm just gonna wash it, and then we're gonna cut up 2 onions. Alright, so now we have the onions in a pan, and now we're just gonna saute them for about 10 minutes until they caramelized. So you don't need to use any oil here, you just kind of saute them. You just need a non-stick pan like we have here, and just kind of move them around. Just don't let them be by themselves because they're gonna burn, so you have to stir them all the time. Alright, and as we are stirring, we have some balsamic vinegar here. You can use any brand you want, but it has to be balsamic vinegar. I'm not sure if it's gonna work with some other kind, because this is a balsamic Brussels sprouts. So we're just gonna add 2 tablespoons right now. Okay, after we stirred it for about 5 minutes, we're gonna add another tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. Now we're gonna keep stirring it for another 5 minutes. So now you see we're using the technique called deglazing, where we all the time scraping off the onions so they don't get burnt. And when it's getting too dry, you have to add water, but this is called deglazing and makes that nice taste of the onion. Alright, after about 10 minutes, we're gonna add 2 more tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. And at the same time, we're gonna add about 1/3 of a cup of water. Alright, and now we can add our Brussels sprouts in there. And now we're just gonna stir it around so the balsamic vinegar sauce gets all on the Brussels sprouts. Alright, so as our Brussels sprouts are cooking here, we're gonna add some pepper. It's up to you how much spice you like it. We're also gonna add here some basil leaves and also some parsley leaves. I don't add too much parsley because it's gonna just destroy the flavor. But if you're just gonna chop it like this, it'll create a nice flavor. If you have more Brussels sprouts, you need to add a little bit more water. And now we're just gonna cover it and let it sit there for about 15 minutes. Alright, after 5 minutes you wanna check on the Brussels sprouts again. And you wanna stir them up so they get cooked evenly. And at the same time you can adjust how much salt you want. So ours need a little bit more salt, a little bit more of the vinegar.
But you have to be careful with adding the vinegar, because if you add too much, your stir fry will taste bitter. So just add a little bit first and see if it's enough for you.
I'm just gonna stir it again Leave it for about 5 more minutes, and that's about it. Alright, it's been 10 minutes and now I'm gonna give it another taste test. If it has too much balsamic vinegar, you can always dilute it with a little bit of water, like I'm doing here. And just stir it up and just let it outside until the water evaporates. And that should dilute the balsamic vinegar. Like I added too much over here. But now it's just perfect.